Hello, everybody, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. This is Paul Tinkle. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We're going to be talking about veterans, and who knows veterans any better than the gentleman that I'm getting ready to introduce you. If you haven't met Keith Dunning, he is a super fella, cares greatly about our veterans, and that's why we're here today to talk about Veterans Day. And Keith, I know you are red, white, and blue all over for a lot of reasons. Your family has been a part of that. So let's just step it up right there and tell me, why are you all red, white, and blue?
Well, when I made the decision to join the military back in 1982, and I joined the Navy, that was my plan, to stay in the Navy 20 years and retire at an early age. And anybody that joins the military, you get patriotic. You can't help it. I think that's really what done it to me. My years in the Navy when I first started, and then life happens, and I only wound up staying 9 years. But later on, I got the great opportunity to become a National Guard recruiter, and I was lucky enough to do that for 11 years, which allowed me the ability to retire from the military. But the National Guard job was local. It was here in Obion County and Weakley County, and I got to associate with a lot of local people. We do have a lot of patriotic people in Obion and Weakley County, and it makes it even better. And then later on, I become the Weakley County Veteran Service Officer, and I get to work with veterans every day. And there's a lot of veterans that come through our doors that are looking for compensation, or they're looking for any kind of help that we can give them. And it's a real joy being able to help them. And there's a lot of opportunities out there for them. All they got to do is call the office or visit tn.gov/veteran. And you can find out anything that's available to you.
So Veterans Day is coming up. We're just a couple of days from November 11th. There are days when people are getting ready to, I would call it red, white, and blue, downtown Martin, or maybe wherever it happens to be that you are listening. And there's a lot of recognition for our veterans, and they really, really are touched by the giving and not forgetting.
Veterans Day is a very special day here in Martin. We always have a parade. We'll have another parade on the 8th. Mr. David Hawks is in charge of that. And we take that opportunity to thank veterans just for their service. You know, that a lot of veterans do appreciate it when you say thank you for your service. But some of them they're just everyday people. Just like me and you. You know, I'm a veteran, but never thought of being anything special because I was a veteran. It's just something that I chose to do with my life. And it's a great day that we can honor everybody. I hope we have a big parade. There'll be a presentation, as usual, down at the library, and Mr. Davis down there.
Let's talk about veterans. What's a veteran look like?
Just a normal human being. Anybody can be a veteran. All you got to do is join the military. We come in many shapes and sizes and attitudes and all that. But a veteran, we kind of walk different, kind of talk different. We're regimented, you know, from what we learned while we were in there, and it stays with you for all your life. And one thing that I've noticed that they say about veterans is veterans walk fast. If they can, they walk fast. And I find myself, you know, if I'm shopping or just anywhere, I walk pretty fast. And I think I got that from my veterans training. But it's just we look at life in a different view than the normal person.
You know, my father, obviously a veteran, he had a couple of medals. He was in North Korea. There are a lot of veterans that come back that are having hard times. Some of them are at the Veterans Nursing Home in Humboldt, which is a terrific facility. Some people need help with their veterans' medical and so forth. Where are those places? Paducah, Memphis, Nashville?
There's a clinic in Mayfield. There's a clinic in Paducah. There's a clinic in Dyersburg, Jackson. And what happens is when a veteran becomes part of the VA healthcare system, they will assign him to a certain clinic, him or her, and that's where they go for their treatment. And the Jackson and the Dyersburg clinics fall under the Memphis Hospital. The Mayfield and Paducah clinics fall under the Marion, Illinois Hospital. So they're all in that chain of command. But they just, they take care of them. They offer every service there that they can need. If they have to be referred out for anything special, the VA will refer them to a specialist and they can go from there. It's just like a regular doctor.
Your job is to provide information to veterans or spouses.
Also, yes, widows, spouses. There are programs out there for them when the veteran passes away. We have to file certain paperwork, and some of it's income based, some of it's based on if the veteran passed away from a service related death, if he was had VA compensation from something that happened to him in the military, then there's other program for that. But there are help for that. There's also aid and attendance for people that might wind up needing some extra care at home. So there's many programs available, and if you meet the qualifications, our job is to get that paperwork submitted and make it as easy on the veteran, on the spouse, the children, wherever we can help to make it easy on them.
That's a great service that is being done here with the servicemen. But the follow up to that is, what does a widow or a widower, what do they need to bring to your office, and why would I need your help?
You bring the veteran's DD-214.
And what does that mean?
That is his discharge from the military, and you just bring a death certificate, and we'll take it from there. There is compensation to be paid if you qualify, a partial payment to help pay for the funeral expenses. It won't pay for all of it, but I think it's up to $2,000 that they will pay you. And you can also apply for a foot marker or a headstone at no charge. And Rolling Thunder and the Patriot Riders, they do a great job putting those on graves when we get them. They do it at no charge. But we'll take care of all the paperwork to ease the family of any, we try to we tell them get over their grief and come see us, and we'll take care of them then.
How long do you have to be in the military before you can start receiving, let's just say 6 months in, and you broke a leg and you can't get, you're going to bail out? And I'm not trying to be objective about this. Can they still come to your office?
Yes. If you are injured, anytime you're on federal active duty, just like you say, if somebody broke their leg at basic training, then that leg is going to bother them for the rest of their life. When they get discharged, they can come to our office and apply for VA compensation because it's in their medical records that they broke their leg and all the treatment. And so that's what we do. We file for compensation for events or injuries that happen while you're on active service.
You have help in the office. You want to take a moment?
Randy Wolf is the greatest. I could not do my job without her. She's been there 19 years. She knows practically everything. I feel like I work for her. Weakley County just has to have a veteran sitting in that office. And I have learned so much from her and rely on her. She's my right arm. Because even when I tell somebody something, I run it by her and say, Randy, was that right? And she'll tell me yes or no. So she's great. I can't thank her enough for all she does. And she's very passionate about helping veterans. She likes to make sure all of our paperwork is done correctly so there's no hiccups when we do get it to the VA. So she's great.
You handed me some information about who is a veteran. To be considered a veteran and eligible for most benefits, a person must meet the following criteria. Served on active duty. This refers to full-time service in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard, and Reserve and National Guard. Members of these services are generally only considered veterans if they were activated for the federal duty by the presidential order, and training only. Active duty or training generally does not qualify a person as a veteran unless the service member was disabled or passed away from an injury or a disease during that period. Those are some of the things that you have to qualify these men and women who come to see you.
Yes. they have to have served on active duty, federal active duty, and have an honorable discharge. So anyone that has been in, it don't matter if you was in 6 months or you was 20 years or 10 years, if you've got an honorable discharge, you can apply for VA compensation. If that event in service that you were referring to, we can apply for it. National Guard soldiers, a lot of National Guard soldiers have been activated over the last few years with what's gone on overseas. They qualify as well. But if you're just a regular National Guard soldier without any federal active time, then unfortunately at this point, you don't qualify for VA compensation. But if you got hurt on a weekend drill, of course you get to apply for that.
Let me go back to this. It's interesting that we have this conversation. Memphis has National Guard men and women there, and they also have some help from Washington as well. How about those?
I believe that with the president putting them there, he had to go through Governor Lee to do that. So at this point, they're under Governor Lee's command. But if the president federalizes them, then of course, yes, that's like active duty.
Such as going to a different state or maybe a different city and so forth. Our National Guard get called out so many times, and I'll just, the last flood that we had in Texas, I mean, you and I both know what we're talking about, and I hope the rest of you do as well. We lost a lot of people in that flood. National Guard members, they're amazing.
I'm really proud to be retired member of the Tennessee Army National Guard. I was there 11 years, but just even as a recruiter, I got to see what the National Guard does. My office was in Union City at the 913th Engineering Company. They got activated more than once, and I got to see firsthand they're ready to go when they're called upon. So we need the National Guard. Really proud that they've been able to do what they can do. They're there for every emergency, every event. There's always somebody from the National Guard that's going to be called upon to go help out. That,
and when we talk about floods, I mean, there's a lot of things that the National Guard trains for. Can you tell me some of the things that you trained for when you were in the Guard?
I really didn't train for anything other than to be a recruiter, but I had firsthand knowledge of Union City, for example. They're an engineering company. They could build things and blow things up and build bridges over water. And of course, Dresden, we had a transportation company. They hauled fuel and just whatever needed to be moved, a lot of truck drivers. So each armory has its own specific job that they do. I was lucky enough to witness a lot of it. I didn't have to go through a lot of that training, but I did have to go to some training where I had to use some Army training to get through it. But someone way more knowledgeable than me could be able to tell you about exactly how they do things. I do understand their MOSs, their jobs that they do, but I wouldn't begin to tell you how I know they do it.
If you just joined us, we're visiting with Keith Dunning. Keith is the Veterans Service Officer for Weakley County. There are, I suspect, all 95 counties in the state of Tennessee have a Veterans Service person there. Is that right?
Just about. There's not in every county, but I would say 95% of the counties have veterans officers. Some veterans officers have to cover 2 counties, but here in Weakley County, we have a full-time office. We're open from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. We are the only office in this area that is open full-time. Obion County is a part-time office. Carroll County is a part-time office. And we can help veterans from anywhere. We help veterans from Kentucky or Illinois. Randy has a certification with the American Legion, which allows us to bring in veterans that, say, live in a rural area of Kentucky or wherever, or they just want to come see us because they like us. Mm-hmm. But she can do that. And we just got back from a conference in Knoxville around the 1st of October. And every year we have to go get recertified with the Tennessee Department of Veteran Services. And there was a lot of good information given out about that. I've got some stuff here. I found out that Weakley County has 2,025 veterans in it.
2,025 veterans in Weakley County.
In Weakley County. And they broke it down to categories. And one category I'd like to point out is it says we got 44 World War II veterans in Weakley County still living. I was amazed at that. I didn't know that. But we are partners here in Weakley County with the Tennessee Department of Veteran Services, and that's where we get this information from. We don't, they have Tennessee veterans officers as well employed by the state, but we're county employees. But they share all their information with us, and we're allowed to look at veterans' records and stuff to better help them. But that was one of the things that stood out to me, 44 World War II veterans. I know their time is getting short, but I didn't know we had that many.
How many, let me go back to this, about the age demographic. We're right in that 90-year-old, as best on I did with my math just then.
I hope I'm not giving you wrong information, but that's the way it reads. It looks like to me 44, but...
Well, that sounds right. And, I mean, they may be at home. They may be in a healthcare facility, maybe at the veterans facility. It's amazing, that we still have. And those people, those men and women, they are the ones that held our democracy in check.
I believe they are owed a debt of gratitude that never can be repaid, because what they went through back in those days, it's hard for someone of my age to understand, because I wasn't even born then. But they are the cream of the crop. They saved our country.
We have veterans from Vietnam. You talked about World War II. We've had a lot of times where we've gone overseas, and we've been to a lot of sand as well.
According to this, we have 563 Vietnam veterans in Weakley County. And I know that a lot of the Vietnam veterans that come to see us, they tell us they were told back in that day, just whatever's wrong with you, suck it up. You're going to have to deal with it, and so forth and so on. Once again, way before my time frame, but they apply for veterans benefits. There's a lot of stuff for Vietnam veterans out there that's presumptive. You don't have to have a lot of proof to show with the Agent Orange, some of the cancers that it causes and stuff like that. And we have a lot of Vietnam veterans that come see us.
PTSD, let's talk about that.
It's a real deal. There's a lot of veterans suffer from PTSD, and you may not even know they do it or they have it. There's a lot of things you see on the war zone that plays havoc on your mind. We have several PTSD applicants, and there's a lot of service out there that the VA takes very seriously for that. PTSD affects people in a different way, a lot of people differently, but there's a lot of good care out there for that and compensation.
Coming home, and I know that you have seen many veterans in the period that you've been in the Office of Veteran Affairs in Weakley County in Dresden, Tennessee, on the first floor, by the way. But you have seen a lot of men and women, and we have a tendency to think about veterans as being all men. That's not true.
No, it's not. There's a lot of women that are veterans. There's a lot of women that I know deployed with the National Guard to the Middle East, and they went through just what the guys go through. I served with women in the National Guard, and the same thing happens to them, and they deserve every bit of credit that the men get. Everybody's got each other's back. We see a lot of women veterans, and they apply for compensation as well.
A lot of people, a lot of soldiers, Marines, I'll go on, but a lot of people that are due of being able to have these services, sometimes they don't want to come see you. They just want to let everything be pushed aside. Let's
there's a pride factor involved there. They think a lot of people from the older generation just move out and draw fire. They suck it up and go on. But sometimes it just gets to the point, we tell people, every veteran we talk to, just, anything that you think may be bothering you or hurting you from any service that you've had, let us come see us and let us help you, because it's what it's there for. At one time, to my knowledge, there wasn't this much help out there for veterans. It has improved quite a lot over the years, and I see every day what we can offer, and the VA is striving every day to help veterans in any way they can. It's not perfect, and it does take time, but once you come in the office and you apply for it and get the wheels turning, they'll come back and they'll help you out.
Do you have to get into the Congress for help sometimes? Do you have to pick up the phone and call the congressman and say, Congressman or Senator, I need some help?
I haven't had to do that personally. I've talked with Senator Blackburn just off the cuff and Mr. Kustoff. He has a representative that comes by our office sometimes, but just saying hi. We've never had to use them. Our commissioner, Tommy Baker in Nashville, he's really good about keeping them informed on what's going on in Tennessee. So I haven't had to do that, but I got their cards in my drawer if I need to call them, but I hope I never have to.
General Baker from Carroll County, am I correct?
Yes.
And what a great asset he has been to veterans as well.
He's a great guy. We come from the same background for the National Guard, and we understand each other. And like I said, Tennessee Veteran Services and Weakley County and all the other counties, it's a partnership. We all do the same job, and we call each other, and they give us guidelines to go by, and we follow those guidelines, and that's what we use to file claims. We're
talking with Keith Dunning, and he's the Veteran Service Officer in Weakley County. You have a colleague across the state line or the county line here over in Obion County, and a terrific gentleman, Harry Johnson.
Mr. Harry Johnson. As a matter of fact, Mr. Harry, at the conference we just came back, he won the County Service Officer of the Year for the state of Tennessee. So, and I know Mr. Harry from way back when I was recruiting, when he was county court clerk, I believe, at Obion County, and I had to go up there and to see them a lot. And I asked him one time, I said, why are you doing this? He done retired once. He says, just can't stand being at home. He had to find something to do. So he and I came on board at the same time.
Well, it's because you want to be there. I mean, this is a job, a very important job. And it's important that the two of you, for example, you understand what it's like to be in that world.
I believe that's the sole purpose of my job in Weakley County, being a veteran, because like I said, Randy is very knowledgeable. She's taught me a lot, but I understand the veterans when they come in and they want to talk, and they want to talk about their past experiences and all that. And I spend a lot of time relating with them about same experiences and stuff like that. So, but veterans today, like I said, they've got more things available to them than I've ever seen. So I know the VA is on the right track to help veterans, especially the Vietnam veterans. They have really added a lot of presumptives to that to help them, and I'm really proud that I can just offer what help I can offer.
You and I know the answer to all of these thoughts that I have, and wanted to pull the trigger on this specifically because I think a lot of people don't have any clue what November 11th means. And we're talking about preserving the historical significance of the day of November 11th. And the date marked, of course, the World War I at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918. Although the holiday was briefly moved to a Monday in the 70s, it was officially returned to November 11th by then President Gerald Ford. And if you're not familiar with the history, take a moment and Google it and what it really means. And we're talking about November the 11th, which is the anniversary of that ending of World War I, and some people will follow that as Armistice Day. It was changed to Veterans Day back in 1954, and that was when President Eisenhower signed that legislation. Those of you who know your civics, or maybe your geography, or maybe you know the history classes that you went through, a lot of this is right there and be told. And then, of course, Veterans Day, to be honored of all of the veterans of all American wars. And, of course, those are people who know the Uniform Monday Holiday Act of 1968, which was kind of an interesting one. It moved the holiday to the fourth Monday in October, but this caused some confusion to some people, and they weren't very happy with it, so they returned it to November 11th. And that was President Ford signing a new law to return the observance to November 11th, and that took effect back in the late 70s. And when we talk about this very important day, and we're talking about Veterans Day, the official observance is always on November 11th, regardless of the day of the week. If November 11th falls on a weekend, a federal holiday is typically observed on the following Friday, Monday, or preceding Friday. But the one thing I think we all know, you can see, because many of them have a hat on that may be saying Vietnam or Korea or WW2. And how do you say thank you to a veteran when you're in a grocery store or in a restaurant or maybe at the gas pump?
A simple thank you for your service. That's it. A handshake. Thank you for your service.
How do they feel, do you think, when someone says thank you?
Well, I can relate it to how I feel. And, of course, I have those hats that everyone knows I'm retired and all that. It makes me feel great. And I'm sure that, especially the Vietnam veterans these days, they didn't get much praise when they came home. I'm sure they really appreciate it. I've never met a veteran yet that didn't like being told, thank you for your service, because that service goes a long, long way. You go through a lot of things. Service just encompasses the whole time that you was in there, but it don't cover everything you go through when you're in the military.
You have shared with me that to be considered a veteran and eligible for most benefits, a person must meet a certain criteria, and whether it, as you talked about it a moment ago, serving on active duty and referring to full-time service in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, and so forth. But your job, helping these people, and sometimes you can't help them because it doesn't work, and they think they might need or might be able to, but you have to follow that stringent world. But I know you're going to try to make sure as best as you can that you can do everything in your power to make sure that that veteran or who happens to be maybe a family member coming to have, you've got to spend that time, and you've got to be able to make sure that they can understand it as well. And that's why that DD 214 is very important, because that's where it starts. Is that right?
The 214 is the most important document in your military career, and you need to keep up with it. And I guess the worst part about this job is having to tell somebody no, that they don't meet the criteria. But we're honest with people. We don't want to give anybody false hopes, but bringing a 214, and we can file a claim for anything. We don't make the decision on the claim. The VA does. But that 214 is very important.
Before we hang up here today, in honor of Veterans Day, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I can do that.
Let's do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
That's our program today. Hope you've enjoyed it. And please take a moment when you see a veteran, know a veteran, just tell them how much you appreciate the service to this country, our United States of America. Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded. Thanks for listening, everybody, to this week's 30 Minutes.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.